I never used to believe in ghosts or anything supernatural. To me, those were just stories adults told to scare kids, like campfire tales or horror movies. But that night, the night I was home alone, everything changed. I can't shake the memory, no matter how hard I try. It started on a Friday evening. My parents had gone out for a last-minute trip, something about visiting an old friend out of town. They told me I could stay home alone since I was 18 now and responsible. I was excited at first. Finally, some freedom. No curfews, no nagging, just me and the house. The house was an old, creaky place on the edge of town, surrounded by thick woods on 3 sides. I liked the quiet, especially at night, but that night it felt different, heavy somehow. I had finished all my homework and was just settling down to watch a movie when the power went out. No warning, no flicker, just darkness. The whole neighborhood seemed to be plunged into night. I grabbed my phone to check the time and the network. No signal. The streetlights outside went dead too. Great, I muttered, a blackout. I went to the kitchen to find some candles. I found a couple in the drawer, lit them, and put one on the dining table. The small flame flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. I sat down, trying to calm myself, telling myself it was just a blackout. Then I heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from the basement door. I froze. The basement was under the kitchen, and the door was always locked. My parents kept it locked for some reason, never really explained why. I'd never been down there. The scratching got louder, like nails scraping against wood. I told myself it was probably just a rat or some animal trapped down there. But still, a cold chill ran down my spine. I decided to ignore it. I went back to the living room and tried to focus on the movie, but I couldn't. The house felt alive. Every creak in the floor, every whisper of wind outside sounded like a voice. About an hour later, the power suddenly flickered back on. Relief washed over me, and I turned on all the lights. But then the scratching started again, only this time it wasn't coming from the basement. It was upstairs. The attic door. I didn't even know the attic door could open. I'd never been up there before. The scratching sounded frantic now, like something was desperate to get out. I grabbed the flashlight from the drawer and crept up the narrow stairs to the attic door. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it would burst out of my chest. I reached out and put my hand on the doorknob. It was cold, too cold for a warm summer night. Then the scratching stopped. I stood there, frozen. Suddenly, the door creaked open by itself, slowly swinging inward. I shined the flashlight inside. The attic was empty. Dusty old boxes, cobwebs in every corner, and shadows dancing on the sloped ceiling. No sign of anything or anyone. I wanted to close the door and run back downstairs, but my curiosity got the better of me. I stepped inside and looked around. As I moved the beam of light over the boxes, I noticed something strange. A thick layer of dust on everything except a narrow path leading to the far corner of the attic. My footsteps echoed as I walked down the path. Then I saw it. A small, old wooden chest. It looked out of place, like it had been hidden there on purpose. I knelt down and opened the chest. Inside was a faded photograph, yellowed with age, and a small rusty key. The photo showed a family, parents and 2 children, smiling in front of this very house. But the strange thing was the children's eyes. They were completely black. I felt sick. I dropped the photo and key and stepped back. That's when I heard a whisper, barely audible, like a breath against my ear. "Help us." I spun around, flashlight shaking, but no one was there. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut. I was trapped. Panic hit me hard. I pounded on the door, yelling for help, but the house swallowed my voice. Then the whisper came again, louder this time, echoing through the cramped attic. "Help us." I remembered the rusty key. I scrambled to find it on the floor and tried it on the attic door lock. It fit. I twisted and the door creaked open. I ran down the stairs as fast as I could, heart racing. Back in the living room, I locked all the doors and windows. I tried to call my parents, but the phone was dead. No signal, no dial tone. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy, slow, deliberate. My skin crawled. I grabbed the baseball bat from under the couch and tiptoed toward the stairs. The footsteps stopped. A cold breath brushed my neck. I spun around, bat raised, but no one was there. Then I saw it, a shadow flicker across the hallway. I chased after it, but it vanished into thin air. I ran back to the living room and locked myself in the bathroom. The whispers grew louder, more desperate. "Help us." I realized the house was alive, with something trapped inside, something that needed me. Hours passed. I don't know how I stayed awake. Morning finally came. The whispers stopped. The footsteps ceased. The house felt quiet again. When my parents came home that afternoon, they found me sitting on the couch, pale and shaking. They asked what happened, but I couldn't explain. All I knew was that something was wrong with the house, something old and angry. I never went back into the attic again. And sometimes, when the power goes out and I'm home alone, I still hear the scratching, still hear the whispers, still feel their eyes watching me in the dark. I always thought being home alone was no big deal. I used to laugh at those stories about strange noises at night or creepy things happening when no one else was around. But that night, everything changed. It was a cold winter night, pitch black outside, like the darkness had swallowed the whole world. My parents had gone out of town, leaving the entire house to me. At first, I was excited. Movies, snacks, staying up as late as I wanted. But as soon as I stepped onto the stairs to turn off the lights and go to bed, I felt something wrong. The house was too quiet. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, almost suffocating. I went into my room and shut the door behind me, flicking off the light. That's when I heard it. A soft whisper, like someone breathing, coming from the hallway outside my door. I froze. The whisper turned into a slow, dragging sound, like footsteps, but heavier, slower. I gripped the edge of my bed, heart pounding. Suddenly, the door handle started to turn. I held my breath as the door creaked open. Nothing was there, just the empty hallway, dark and still. I told myself it was just my imagination, that I was tired. But then I heard the whisper again, this time right behind me. "Don't be afraid." I spun around, but no one was there. The room grew icy cold. My breath fogged in the air. Then the whisper became a low, guttural voice, repeating over and over, Let me in. I grabbed my phone to call my parents, but there was no signal. The lights flickered and went out. The darkness pressed in, thick and suffocating. I stayed frozen, hearing the footsteps getting closer, 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 until I felt a cold breath on my neck. And then, silence. When morning finally came, everything was normal again. But I knew I was never truly alone that night. They say silence is peaceful. I used to believe that too, until the night silence turned into whispers. It was a rainy Thursday evening. My parents had gone out to attend a family emergency and left me alone in the house. I wasn't scared. I've always liked being alone. Quiet nights, dim lights, just me and the sound of rain tapping gently on the windows. Around 11 p.m., I turned off the TV and got ready for bed. Everything was normal. I brushed my teeth, turned off the lights, and climbed into bed with my phone. The power flickered once, but didn't go out. I didn't think much of it. Until I heard a soft knock. Not from the front door. From inside my room. It came from the closet. I froze, phone still in my hand, the screen's glow the only light in the room. I waited, telling myself I imagined it. Maybe something fell inside. Then I heard it again. 3 soft knocks. And a whisper. Let me out. My heart dropped. I stared at the closet door. It was closed, just like always. I hadn't opened it in days. Slowly, I slid out of bed and approached it. Phone flashlight turned on. "Who's there?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. No reply. I reached for the handle, hand shaking. I opened the door in one quick motion. Nothing. Just clothes, shoes, and an old box. I sighed in relief, but as I turned away, the door slammed shut behind me. I jumped back, nearly dropping my phone. That's when the light from the phone flickered, just once. And then the whisper came again, but this time right next to my ear. "Don't leave me." I spun around. There was nothing, no one, but I felt it. A presence, heavy, cold, clinging to the air. I backed out of the room, heart racing, and slammed the door shut. I spent the rest of the night downstairs with every light in the house on. In the morning, everything seemed normal, except for one thing. The closet door was wide open, and inside, the word "stay" was scratched into the wood from the inside. I haven't slept in that room since, and every night I still hear the whisper from upstairs, begging, waiting. I was never afraid of being home alone. In fact, I kinda liked it. No one to tell me to turn off the TV, no chores, no small talk, just peace and quiet. That night started like any other. My parents were away visiting my aunt, and I was left to hold down the fort. It was about 10:45 p.m. I was curled up on the couch with a bowl of popcorn, watching an old horror movie I'd seen a dozen times. The storm outside only added to the mood. Rain slapping the windows, wind howling like a warning. I was cozy, unbothered. Until I noticed the curtain move. It wasn't much, just a slight shift, like it was touched from the outside. I paused the movie. The room was still. I stared at the window for a moment, then laughed at myself. Probably just a draft. I turned the movie back on and tried to shake it off. That's when I saw him, in the reflection of the TV screen. A man, standing outside the window. My heart froze. I whipped around and looked directly at the glass, but there was no one there, just darkness and the rain. I told myself it was a trick of the light, an illusion. I closed the curtain tightly and sat back down, trying to focus on the movie, but something felt wrong. I heard tapping, not on the window, on the glass of the back door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I stood up, this time genuinely frightened, and walked slowly toward the kitchen. I could barely breathe. I reached the back door and turned on the porch light. Nothing. No one was there. But when I looked down, I saw it. A single muddy footprint on the doorstep. I locked every door and window in the house after that. I even closed the blinds in my bedroom and turned on the nightlight, something I hadn't done since I was a kid. But just as I started to calm down, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A note slipped under my bedroom door. No sound, no footsteps, just the note sitting there. I picked it up with trembling hands. One sentence was scrawled across the paper. "Thanks for letting me in." I haven't stayed home alone since.